At Giant Eagle, you may have spotted the Stacker. With uncanny My Perks ability, she stacks up the perks to choose either dollars off or up to 20% off her entire grocery bill. The Stacker, stacking up huge savings with My Perks. Find your My Personality and transform your shopping into free gas and groceries. Full details at gianteagle.com/myperks. Perks cannot be earned or redeemed on select items. Restrictions apply.
Denim is in demand at Plato's Closet in West Ashley and North Charleston. Get cash on the spot for everything denim. Bring in your trendy and classic styles of gently used name brand denim. Get paid for your denim shorts, skirts, jackets, jeans, and more. We're looking for denim that is blue, black, or a bold color, and jeans in styles like mom jeans, bootcut, baggy, flared, and ripped. We want everything denim. Sell your denim for cash at Plato's Closet today. Plato's Closet, located in West Ashley on Sam Rittenberg Boulevard and North Charleston on Rivers Avenue.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
Yeah, once again, we have liftoff. I want to thank you for tuning into this episode of the Big Truth Podcast. I can't look at you and do this intro and not laugh.
Why?
I don't know, just because it's my boy Johnny. Was what town are we in?
That happens to me too, Tooth.
Yeah.
I look at Johnny and I just crack up.
We're in Londonderry, New Hampshire.
We're at we're in the smoking room of the AmVets 27 Legion Hall.
The
It's like
Bud
a
Hut at
shed.
the American Legion Hall.
It's a shed built off the side of the building.
It's great though. It's great.
It's good to be
Seoul,
here.
New Hampshire.
Yeah. So
It's a little too New Hampshire, really. They might want to dial back the New Hampshire on this.
The best is that it's so New Hampshire, but it's literally just over the border.
Yeah.
It's like it's the stronghold. Like New Hampshire's like, nah, this is New Hampshire. It's not Massachusetts. We're here. Like, don't.
How close to the border are we? I really don't have a sense.
Not too far.
No?
From here. It's
State line liquor stores close by?
close by.
All right.
Yeah.
Johnny,
I have to look at the map. I apologize to New Hampshire to not properly look at the map.
Just
before
over the border. Just
starting this podcast.
Well, I should probably introduce my guest today.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I'm here with
Stepped all over it.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no. It's all organic, man. All organic. But,
Hurry up because I've got questions to ask you.
okay, all right, we'll do it. I'm here with my man Dicky Barrett and my man Johnny, who's been. This is like your third or fourth appearance,
Right.
on the podcast?
Yeah,
Johnny
yeah.
Leo. You were with me on the Billy Milano one. You were on,
Yeah.
and then
We did some sort of weird COVID special during all that too. We did together, like via satellite.
Isn't that a little case of foreshadowing?
How many episodes did you do?
I did one on my own, and then I've done a couple with other folks too.
Why did you do one with Billy Milano?
Because Truth came to Austin I don't know if it was he came to Austin for
I
something.
came to Austin for Wino's wedding.
Oh yeah.
Are these all brothers?
And Billy lived.
You know, do you remember a band, an old metal band, St. Vitus?
Yes, very well.
And the Obsessed is Wino from St. Vitus and the
Okay.
Obsessed. I was going to his wedding because he's a good friend of mine, and
Billy lives out that way, so
we decided to get Billy on there too.
So Billy and Johnny was the
yeah. It was a weird one.
Anybody near Wino's wedding was the episode.
Well, no, because Johnny's my old friend, and he just we roll around.
We're just rolling together.
We roll around, and then we're doing the podcast, and we had good barbecue. What was it, Black's? Black's barbecue.
Terry Black, yeah.
Oh, that sounds like Austin to me.
Yeah, and then we brought it over to Billy's house. We ate, broke bread, and recorded a podcast.
Yeah.
But
Okay, so there was that one.
Billy
then there was
Milano's
Johnny
apartment
alone.
is exactly how you'd think it would be too. It was
Now the
pretty-
COVID special, how was that? You guys trying not to say stuff?
No,
Two guys like, I don't know, what should we say?
There was a little
I don't
of
want to
that
get
and-
canceled. Do you want to get canceled? Go ahead, Truth.
see, I feel like you can only get canceled if you care about getting canceled.
That's true.
Right? I'm cancel proof. I don't give a shit.
Right.
But what are you gonna do? Take away this? Like, I don't make money at this.
Yeah,
yeah.
Because I'm dumb. But it does really well. I just don't capitalize off that end of it because I
Right.
do it because I like to do this. Right.
You're talking to the chairman of the canceled Truth.
I know.
right now.
I know.
So-
And we'll get into all that.
And,
too.
and I'll also tell you this. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, no.
And I know that I'm right, and I know that anybody that thinks differently, is wrong. I'm willing to say that.
Yeah. So so Johnny's been on a couple times, so people have been introduced to Johnny, and I'm sure people know you from Impact Unit.
They do. Most of my fans are Impact Unit fans.
You had a little band after that called the Bosstones.
Yeah, but most people with any, Hey, who did the intro to your podcast?
That's Murphy's
I've heard
Law.
it before. It's Murphy's Law. It's that.
Yeah.
So what did you do? You took Jimmy's voice off of it, or is it part of it?
No, that's just the beginning.
Yeah,
just the beginning.
Sorry, Jimmy, I don't properly listen to your songs. And Jimmy's been on here, right?
Oh yeah, Jimmy's been on here. He's another one.
He's a great. I listened
Jimmy
to a Big
was on this podcast doing DMT, I think.
Jimmy was on this podcast one time, and he was early on, like, don't give a shit, right? It was like before the Park, or was defending the Park concert.
I think so, yeah.
And he was great. He was laying it out there.
He's been on twice as like the only guest, and then he's been on another 2 times, I think, like you, with other people when we do.
Has he ever been on with Billy Milano?
He has not been on with Billy Milano, but that would be great.
Was he not at Wino's wedding?
No, he was not at Wino's wedding.
All right.
But
any chance that the second time I do your podcast, Billy Milano can be here?
We can make that
set
happen.
that up.
I
haven't seen him in a while.
But Johnny will have to be here.
No, Johnny.
When the Defiant,
is enough. What are you trying to break a record with Johnny?
When Johnny's on like this type of one, he's good because he knows when to come in. He'll like ask a point question and then disappear into the background again, chewing on a
he's a cat on a hot tin roof right now. He's so afraid of what Dicky's going to say.
It's tough to be a sideman for Dicky. He really says it all.
That's perfect.
I can bring you in. All of a sudden you think you're my pal, then I just smoke you.
Yeah.
It's a false security build you up to tear you down.
Right.
I play him like a
bigger audience here, Dick. We got to remember.
I used to do that to my mother. I used to have a radio show in L.A. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying that back when there was such a thing as radio shows in LA. And I would call my mother, which is just an old radio morning trick, like, oh, the guy's calling his mother. But my mother, I would constantly like string her along, like, I'd be like, Ma, do you remember when we lived in Lowell? Oh, yes, I do, Richard. And we lived in the Progress, right? Yes, we did. And I was very sick at the time. Oh, it was scary. We didn't know what you had and everything. And who was Dad dating then? Richard. I constantly got her like walk her along nicely. She's having a conversation, and boom, I hit her with something.
Right into the trap. Into the trap. So, like, why don't we? I definitely want to talk about the Defiant because that's.
I only want to talk about the Defiant. That and my mother on my radio show.
Okay. So, but before we do that, let's give some context to people. Like,
all right,
let's talk about. To start with, just because this is always interesting to me as someone that's been involved in punk and hardcore the bulk of my life, like how did and it's vastly different now than it was, say, in the 80s. Like I got into more the mid 80s, but I know you guys were like the first wave there. But like, what even got you into punk and hardcore? How'd you find your way into that? Like,
that's a pretty good question, and we lived, me and my friends. There was a kid that moved to Norwood in the early 80s, like 1980, maybe in 1979. And he moved to Norwood, suburb of Boston, and he had a huge crate of punk rock records, like all the Newbury Comic punk rock records. He had the best, and we were like, oh my gosh, what are these? And we were fairly bored at that time. And, Sex Pistols, Ramones, all of them, Specials, Madness, all Clash, and Cockney Rejects had all the punk rock records, and we just started listening to them. There was like 5 or 6 guys in the town that just started, and I was one of them. Couldn't get enough of it. Go to the guy's house, listen to his punk records. And then we started discovering, me and my friend Mark Higgins, who actually made the Defiant video, and he made the Dropkick Murphys, Shipping Up to Boston video. He's in advertising and cuts commercials that you'll see during the Super Bowl and stuff. He's very successful at what he does. And he was, like Johnny, for many years, he was not only my childhood friend, but he was a roadie for the Bosstones. He's the guy that would, set up the gear, and then you'd see him on stage, policing the stage, tall, kind of overgrown dude, but great guy. If you know him, you'd love him. He's just a great guy. And so me and him, he lived in Norwood too. He was from Dorchester, but he lived in Norwood. We're just really into this punk rock, and we started listening to Emerson College Radio. They had a couple shows. One was Unsafe at Any Speed, and the other one was Faster Than You. It was 2 punk shows, hardcore shows. And now we're hearing, all these early hardcore bands, Angry Samoans, stuff from California, stuff from DC, Minor Threat, Circle Jerks, all these bands. And then we knew that there were Boston bands too, but it just seemed like, we're in Norwood. It's like, even though it's 15-minute ride at that time.
But when you're a kid,
it's like, I'll just never get there. I want to be at these shows and these things are going on. And then Al from SSD and Choke were on one of those 2 shows, and I couldn't say which one it was. And they were talking about, we're starting a scene. And I'm like, what does that mean? We're starting a scene. Come in. It's going to be, shows at the Gallery East. Come to whatever show. It's like, well, if there's going to be a scene, me and Higgs are going to be involved.
Yeah.
So in we go. We head in and we catch the show, and then we're just part of it. And there's like 100 kids at the time. The guys from Braintree, the Gangrene, and the Jerry's Kids guys, Bob and Chris, and
FUs.
Then there's the FUs and those guys. I'm not even sure where the FUs were from, but it was John and Steve and Bob played the drums, and then DYS. Yeah. John was from Cambridge, and Smalley came up from DC or something. His father worked for the government. But a handful of people. But we were seen, and we were the Boston crew, and part of that whole thing, because Al said come in and welcomed us, and then and if you were welcomed, and if you were in it, you were part of it. You get in the van and you go down to New York in 1982 and see SSD open for the Bad Brains, and there was also like the North Shore guys. It was Jake Phelps, and Punky. He was from Cambridge, but he kind of rolled with Jake and Gluehead, kind of. So just and it felt really family-like, and exactly at that time when you're like coming of age and who are my people and where do I belong. I know I'm not on any of the Norwood football team, although I got along really well with everybody at my high school. I was sort of an artist and kind of trying to find my own place in the world. So this was my crew, and this was who it was. And we were the Boston crew. We were the Wolf Pack. We were the we were the guys that you heard about. And it was great, and it was fun, and our bands were good. It was like they were world class. You put them up against the LA and the DC and the New York. There was other. What New York? God no, God no. At that time, yeah. If you remember, it was very adversarial.
It was, yeah. Not just the sports teams. Yeah.
No, New York and Boston we did butt heads, and I was, the legendary story of how Jimmy, So we'd go down to New York, and we were like, we had our scene. We were tight. We were like, we knew it. And New York was still kind of scattered. There was kind of stuff going on, but. Those bands hadn't quite formed. Yeah. There was, the Beastie Boys were doing something, and Jimmy was doing something. They were getting it together, but we were, and so we went down to New York, and we did some rock hotel or some show, and we generally just kind of flexed. We thought we were cool. We thought we were happening. We were like, we're slamming. We're Boston. We're Boston, not LA. This DC can step to us. We're New York. And then New York stood back and said, hell no. This ain't going on. And there was a show set up, and it was it's on Huntington Ave on the YMCA or something like that. One of those. It was an unorthodox place that we really hadn't had shows at. And so the New York scene comes down, and I think maybe Gnostic Front was there. Someone can look this up. I can't remember, and it was short-lived for me because I came, I was looking, and it was like New York was dominating. It was like Boston was up against the wall. Jimmy was on the floor. I never even seen Jimmy before. And Murphy's Law played it for sure, and they were just great. And then at one point, they had this thing going. They had a kid in the middle of the floor, and I thought the kid was in jeopardy. But it was just New York City style, funkier, and the moshing was it was moshing. I think we were still slamming.
Yeah.
At the time, they had advanced to moshing, but they were almost even thrashing. These are all jokes, and they're bad. They're bad ones, but at any
no, it's good.
Anyway,
I'm looking at the lady holding a drink behind you, dancing around you behind you. That's what,
we got to get her in here. She's got a better accent than you, Truth.
hey,
Here's your drink, Big Truth.
That's New Hampshire.
New Hampshire for damn sure.
Yeah.
So I stepped out on the floor. And somebody grabbed me, and down I went. And New York City put the boots to me.
Yeah.
I was done, and it was Jimmy primarily, and I was never not an instigator, and I never stepped back. But it was like, the next thing I know, I'm in the street, and I got like raccoon eyes, and my mouth split wide open, and I was like, that's the last time I'll fuck with New York.
But that's the funny thing, right? Is because everyone thinks that Jimmy is like happy.
Have you ever heard that story, Truth?
I've heard the story, but not into that depth. But I know the old clashes of New York and Boston. But
that's where it ended.
Yeah, but everyone thinks
certainly for me. I don't know if there's any shots fired back, but I was out. If anybody thought of it, I was like, nah, we're good.
Judge even put it in a song on the Judge song, but everyone thinks that Jimmy is like happy, good time Jimmy, but like when Jimmy
is the toughest guy I know, but he's the best guy I know.
Yeah.
There's nobody better than him.
That's why it's funny.
That's cut to Jimmy sings on the first Bosstones record. Jimmy sings on the opening track, I think, the Devil's Night Out. Is that the first one on that song?
No, he does.
He does Devil's Night Out. No, he does. A Little Bit Ugly.
A Little Bit Ugly.
A Little Bit Ugly. And, it's me and Jimmy. By that point, we're thick as thieves. Jimmy took the Bosstones on their first national tour. Out we go, and Jimmy, taught us how to do it. Joe Gittleman knew what he was doing, but he was reading from the, early Jimmy G touring, handbook. So
the Lawrence, Kansas story from that tour is always one of my favorites. I don't know if you
Lawrence, Kansas was great. I think by Lawrence, Kansas, it was fireworks, handguns, everything goes, and it was the outhouse that.
Yeah.
And
it used to be a strip club.
We're from Boston. We're like, but it's in the middle of a cornfield. So anyway, we're following the Murphy's Law van and the Bosstones van, and trailers behind us, and all of a sudden, just corn. We're driving through corn, and then all of a sudden, the roads are not roads; it's just paths through the corn. And then we're like, where are we going? You're gonna love this. The whole thing is, where did we get to Lawrence? And it was incredible. We played at the outhouse in Lawrence, but so much, which was born of Jimmy putting the toes to me for being a smartass in Boston and daring to step to New York City hardcore, became a beautiful friendship to this day. Remember we played the Park for him?
Yeah, you played the Park, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, there was no question. And it's like, there's lots of, organizations say, could you play for this? And we can't play for all of them, but Jimmy's people, called us, your people, and said, do you want to play this? And it was, to the man, there was no one, we're there. We'll get there, we'll do it. But I value my friendship with Jimmy, and when we talk about this, if Jimmy was sitting here right here, like, it's no. He was like, that part of it was like, no, I was trying to hug you.
Yeah.
I don't remember it that way. Jimmy Dicky, come on.
Yeah, well,
He can't even get his brain right. I was like, dude, that went down, but then everything from there on in was.
You're going to remember it a little better than him. Like, I feel like if you're on the receiving end, you're going to.
I was just dancing, Dicky.
Yeah. That's how we did it in New York.
Yeah, come on.
But so yeah, when did what's the story behind Impact Unit? Because like that's a very in Boston, that was a very as
Impact
a young
Unit
kid that
had
was
like
an
3
influential
shows.
Yeah.
Total. I think there was one in Western Mass. We opened up for the Misfits. We opened up for the Misfits. Yeah, with Deep Wound. I think Jay Maskus's band out in Western Mass. But then we opened up. The big one was opening up for the Misfits, and that was huge.
Is that
It's the infamous
the
Misfits
82
at
show,
the Channel.
Yeah, the Channel. I've seen videos of that.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. That show was amazing. I have pictures of me. I look like a, Opie from Andy Griffith's show.
Yeah.
Standing next to Daryl. So Impact Unit had like 3 shows, but it was me, a guy named Sam, a guy named Ross, and a girl named Julie on the drums. Julie was from San Francisco. Sam lived in the projects in Roxbury, and that's where he grew up. And Ross lived in East Boston, and we just kind of like 4 misfits found each other, and I got to sing for it. And then those are the days when Radio Beat was making those hardcore. They did like Negative Effects and early. What else was Choke doing at that time?
Last Rites.
I think they made the Last Rites record. They made, they were recording bands, and they recorded us for nickels, and we're pretty proud of the recording. It's kind of an epic little hardcore.
No, I mean, it was an influential record for like when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Like, and it was cool because, not for nothing, like SSD like had a little more reach. But when you found the Impact Unit, like, oh, this is a Boston. This was, it was cool to find, and I still have my 7-inch,
Yeah.
And you were singing like Boston Strangler and shit, like fucking weird shit, Like, fuck yeah, man.
It was pretty great, and I love those people in that band, and it was, the first sort of, it was interracial. It was, there's a woman playing, very diverse. I was very ahead of
the curve,
very ahead of the curve, accidentally and inadvertently, and at the time, it didn't cross our minds. Like none of that crossed my mind as being like, it wasn't calculated. It wasn't, these were the people that were willing to play with me. And these were people, and we all shared the same thing. And we were coming to Boston at the time.
And there was less of a pool for people to pick from. Like, so you knew people from different things because there was 40 people in the punk rock or hardcore. You know what I mean? It was like, all right.
But it wasn't like, wasn't, you talk about, I wasn't seeing color. I wasn't seeing, these were part of the scene.
Exactly.
People that were part of the scene. And it wasn't, like, it just wasn't. It was boxes that we had checked back then that if we were still checking, if you told me we would still be checking them now. And it was coming off of, you got to remember, we're also, our older brothers maybe were involved.
Well, Boston was a different place.
Was involved in busing.
Yeah, it was a different place.
So we were the kids that's, we're looking at it and going, this is fucking bullshit.
But if, in the 80s, bullshit. If you walked around Southie, you still got, who are you? What's your last name? Yeah. And it better sound fucking Irish if someone asked you, What
that
I mean?
was going on, but there was still,
it wasn't
there was a movement still going on that was saying enough is enough, and I don't give a shit. My friends are my friends.
Yeah.
And
but it's like you said, though. It's like back then, it just happened organically. You didn't have to worry about checking a box. It's a different thing now. Like where it's almost like a formula now. Okay, you're starting a band. You need someone from this box, someone from this box, and someone from that box.
Could have cared less.
Yeah, of course.
Never cared less. It was, do you want to be part of the band, or will you accept me as part of the band?
Yeah.
And that's just the way it was. And Impact Unit was like that, and I think the Bosstones were definitely like that. And I think no one thought. Everybody else later made some sort of big deal about it, but it's never.
Have you ever kind of talked to any of them again?
Who?
The Impact Unit?
Oh, God, no. No, I actually do. Ross actually made it. He worked for years at Filey's Basement, and then he got hired by that's the music.
Yeah.
Starting.
Then he was hired by Adidas, it's in some places in the world. And worked for them, and maybe still doing that. Sam's still with us. Julie passed away. Remember, Julie was Barry's Barry's gal,
right?
Who worked for the Bosstones.
Barry
Height, right? Played drums for Slapshot and Blast Furnace.
Oh yeah.
See the Blast Furnace drummer?
I think so. Yeah.
That's quite an accolade to be on the Blast Furnace ever.
I think he was the Blast Furnace drummer.
I got that guy a gig doing sound for Paul Westerberg.
Okay.
And I worked for Paul Westerberg for a minute or just management capacity, and got Barry Height because he had come off. He was on the heels of doing like he had done the Bosstones, but he also did like. Britney Spears, I want to say, or something like that.
Yeah.
So Barry had acquired a pretty decent resume at that point. So I hired him for Paul, and it was just Paul playing acoustic guitar in these pretty big rooms, and Paul's up there. He gets a little feedback, and he just goes, because he knew Paul. I only told Paul. I said, "Oh, he worked for the Bosstones. He's a real good guy, or whatever." And he just goes, gets a little feedback on stage. He just goes, "I'm one fucking guy on a guitar. There's no horn section up here. What's with the fucking feedback or whatever?" And then they were going to Canada the next day. So the after the show, he goes, "I want a new sound guy for tomorrow." And this is like Milwaukee or something. I'm like, "Geez, Paul, I don't know. You going to Canada tomorrow? We have these work permits, all this stuff or whatever."
It's a little bit of a rigmarole.
Did you come up with one?
I managed to keep Barry on board because I just convinced Paul it would be an impossible task. So he made it through. But I thought I was going to get Barry all the way out there just to get fired.
It was like a 3-man tour. You, Barry, and Paul.
I wasn't even on the tour. I was just working for management. I went kind of the first couple. I got Pete Cardoso on merch and Barry doing sound. But yeah, it was like 3 guys, and the guitar tech for Pearl Jam doing guitars for him, and it was like
star-studded, Johnny.
4 or 5 of them on a bus.
Johnny's done some work for some major players.
He really has.
In the management perspective, the
Yeah.
tour managing perspective.
I always think of Johnny, if he's not immediately in my life, as just sitting waiting for me to call him.
He's just waiting.
Which I kind of am, though,
Yeah, it's like
I got the Dicky phone in my house. Is Dicky calling? I'm like,
what
answer that.
have you been up to? And I expect, no, just nothing. But usually he has a long list of shit he's been doing.
I'm a very fucking loyal guy. It's like if somebody, because Dicky really gave me my first decent paying job in music,
Yeah.
And back, in the 90s, we met at well, we didn't meet there, but I was working for Dropkick Murphys at the time, and they were still coming up. And I met Dicky and Joe Gittleman over there, like a Joe Strummer show. And they were like, "Man, come fucking work for us. It'd be way," offered me decent money. And I was like, "Oh, shit. Okay."
So you stole them from the Dropkicks.
Dude, we didn't give a shit.
But
I mean, Johnny's a very loyal guy, but I'm not.
Yeah. What's one cool thing though is like when you talk about the old Boston crew, and it's like a lot of dudes are still around, still doing stuff,
Bless
still
them.
involved in music.
Still good guys, and I'm still, friendly with many of them.
Yeah. And I know Jake passed and everything, but like
That was sad.
it was
hit
sad.
me hard.
But like people don't know, like he's the guy that started thrashing. He's a Boston guy.
He's the guy that made. He
California
didn't
thing.
start it, but he made Thrasher.
He made it what it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he definitely made it what it
Yeah.
was.
He
And that was
he
his
was
thing.
the
It's like,
face,
I remember because he was me, him, and Andrew Brady. If you ever heard the Bosstones song "Toxic Toast," it was about us living together. Like Jake is in that song, and we lived together in an apartment on Queensbury Street, which we weren't paying rent. This is like 81, 82, and we weren't paying rent. And just because we couldn't, and they shut all the power off. It was freezing cold, and we just lived in this place. He was a bike messenger, and I was working at a Super Salad in Kenmore Square. I think Andrew might have been a bike messenger too, and that's where we lived. We were real close friends, real good buddies. And then he said at some point, "I'm going to go to San Francisco and work for Thrasher Magazine. I'm going to go work for Thrasher Magazine." I was like, doesn't seem possible.
Yeah.
Really? Like, because we loved Thrasher Magazine.
Sure, yeah.
And he was an insane skateboarder. He's like the skateboarder's skateboarder.
Cambridge Pool.
Yeah, Cambridge Pool. Jake and Joe used to, Nate and Joe used to skate there.
Yeah.
At the Cambridge Pool. And but he did. He went to California and he became, the editor. And by the time he passed away, he was, for years he had been the editor.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like, like John Nassis went on to like get huge in the.
I still talk to John.
Yeah. Like people did stuff, but they're still doing music stuff, which shows you that. I don't know how to explain it. Like that wasn't just like a lifestyle or whatever. That was like this was ingrained in people. Like,
It really was. I owe so much, and if we can circle all the way back to when I started this interview and talked about listening to Choke and Al on Unsafe at Any Speed and call went out, come in, be part of this. I can't say enough how much it meant to me. Like who am I in the world at that time? Who, besides the guy listening to this guy's punk records, what is my, and I never ever thought I would have any sort of career or life in music. But I owe so much to the early Boston crew and to them welcoming me and being a part of that and loving it. And I took all those values and everything that they instilled in me, which was, brotherhood and unity. And it's about, we're only as strong as, all of us together and all of that. And it was, anti-racist, and it was welcoming, and it was, and carried that with me through everything I've done since.
Yeah. I think it's like, because everyone's like punk and hardcore, I think like puts that stuff in you. Like, but it's like because of the people around it.
Yeah.
And it was something special, especially back then. Like,
especially back then.
I wasn't there for that first wave, but I was kind of caught the end of it in the second wave. And I never look back. Like, I'm like, I'm so glad that's how I grew up, even though it was hard back then because, you weren't fucked with by people like townies and jocks and this and that. You were fighting all the time and whatever. But that had made it even better. It just made you a stronger person.
Dude, the guys that have been into it since before, whatever the commercial success of punk and hardcore and stuff.
Yeah.
Those guys are just a different breed, in terms of that element of the scene, the brotherhood of it and all that kind of,
Yeah.
Was there commercial success of punk and hardcore?
You had a little bit of that.
Yeah, you might have.
But you might have been a little responsible for that. I'm sorry. I wasn't making a joke. I was just, I kind of, that all of that went into making the Bosstones, but it was very, it wasn't
the same.
I mean, we made that early hardcore record too, that Boston Tones record we were covering Minor Threat, covering SSD, that was one of the things that was very important to us. It's like, this is where we come from. I think we made a heavy metal one too, which was
Metallica,
Van Halen, and what else was on there? I think Bob Marley was on there too.
One question I do have though, like is, and we don't have to get super into Bosstones, but
you get one question, Truth, and I'm out of here.
What did you ever expect like the Bosstones to be like, because I remember seeing the early shows at the Rat and everything, like in your wildest imagination,
never,
like how did it go from being the band at the Rat to like, because that's fucking insane.
Perfect storm, right place, right time.
Yeah.
Something had to give. We from having people like you at our shows, from really, catering to them and embracing them and saying, this is about us, and it's not just the punks, it's not just the townies, it's not just the giants. Everybody come to our shows. It's all welcoming and doing that. And then it was the heyday, like the pinnacle of college radio, where having a college radio song was huge. And reached a lot of people. So Where'd You Go had legs and did really, really well.
You had the Converse All-Star commercial. That was
Converse All-Star commercial did pretty good, but by then we were rolling. You couldn't deny our shows. Like the Paradise, we would sell out the Paradise, sell out the Channel or wherever we were playing, but the Converse sneaker thing definitely gave us, worldwide, who are these guys kind of recognition. But I think it was just, our work ethic, and we just put it in. And then what Jimmy taught us about going out on the road. We went to towns and said, we're in your town, and we give a shit about you, and come out if you're, if you're in college, if you're here,
Those early tours must have been hard with so many people.
It was
because a band 4 or 5 is tough to do.
I wouldn't change a thing. It was probably grueling and agonizing and all those things at the time. And you're sitting in a wet suit and a 12-passenger van with your buddy right up against you on both sides, and Joe Gittleman at the wheel, heading for it. Whatever the next town is. Hopefully your suit would be dry by morning.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't change a thing. I would not. It was wonderful.
Sure.
brutal as it sounds. And, I think we were all smokers at the time too, except for Nate.
It's like a wet cigarette smelling wetsuit.
Sweaty dudes smoking.
Sweating out all the beer and shit.
And that's before they, when you could still smoke in clubs and
Let
stuff.
me punctuate it with it was wonderful. It was so great that we had the opportunity to even do that we were even doing it, we loved it. And then people were pumped when we pulled into their town and when, hanging out at the venue beforehand and like, here come these lunatics out of their van and they just keep coming and they got horns and they got a guy dancing and all of that stuff. And so, we brought it. I felt like we delivered and it was super exciting.
Yeah. You guys and Kings of Nothing should have did a lot more touring together, so you would have to have way more guys and a piano and
I love those Kings of Nothing. Did you tour with the Kings of Nothing, Johnny?
Did a couple things in Europe with him back then. Yeah, Tor was a great guy. R.I.P. Man, rest in peace. He was a
terrific talent.
Great guy.
Yeah.
Great band too.
He was a good hot rod guy too, man. He knew he got his way around cars and shit, man.
Are you a hot rod guy, Truth, or just a motorcycle guy?
No, both. Both, yeah.
What do you got for a hot rod?
The only vehicles I have right now that would be in that category is I got a 67 Impala and I got a 70 C10.
Sounds sweet, dude.
I'm in the middle of transforming the Impala, but it's running and driving, so
Hell yeah.
it's cool. I got to do I want to get it painted, but I'm going. I got to save up for this paint.
Are you doing lowrider with it?
I'm going like full
nice.
full retard with it. Yeah, so I gotta save up because the paint is gonna be more than I probably have into the car at this point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we'll get there. We'll do it. But why, you a hot rod guy?
No, but I appreciate it.
Yeah.
He's in old trucks right now. I was actually telling him to get a C10 just because I like you and then Brent before you and
So everyone likes step sides. I'm a long bed guy because I like to be able to put a bike in
there.
Yeah, I got a long bed.
Do you? What do you got?
It's a Toyota.
All right, it's cool. The long beds are cool, man. I like the way they look, especially if you got them like slammed down and stuff.
Toyota Tacoma and people with short beds look at me like jealous.
Yeah.
In Arizona, as I drive by with my.
Are you living in Arizona?
Yeah.
All right, where?
I don't know if I want to tell you.
No, what town? I don't need your fucking address, dude. I just
through.
Like Phoenix area, Tucson area.
I have a place in Sedona.
Okay.
Outside of Sedona.
Yeah, I know Sedona. I lived in Arizona. That's
you
where
did. Where?
I lived in Tucson and Flagstaff.
Flagstaff is nice, right? I'm close to Flagstaff.
Yeah,
I get that Flagstaff snow.
Yeah.
You had to drive through Sedona to get to Flagstaff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I know that area. It's beautiful out there. I love it.
Yeah. It's a great place for a hot rod up in Flagstaff.
Oh, yeah, right? Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, except that it snows more than it snows here.
Does it
or
really?
It did, yeah, because it's 7,000 feet up on a mountain.
It does, but it goes away.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. They don't put salt down, so it doesn't ruin vehicles. They put like a volcanic rock down or something.
No shit.
The coolest thing about Flagstaff in the winter is you can drive an hour and a half and go to a show in Phoenix, and you go through like 4 different environments.
Yeah.
Like you're in snow. It looks like you're in Maine, and then you end up in a t-shirt and shorts.
You're in shorts.
And it's 85 degrees. Like you know what I mean. And all in an hour and a half. Like it's bananas. Like, but
my sister has a place in Scottsdale too.
Yeah.
The kids go to school there.
Yeah.
So, and I enjoy it. I moved from L.A. to Altadena and Pasadena in 2021.
Yeah, I'm sure there's something that prompted that move. In
What
that
do you
time
think?
Frame. Yeah.
Just coincidentally, just off the top of my head. And my kids wanted to play with other kids, so we had to get the hell out of Altadena.
Yeah. Sedona's nice though. Do you go out and harvest the energy of the vortexes and?
I've got crystals.
You got crystals and all that. You got a little crystal shop going on.
Yeah, I do. Essential oils. I do it all. All things Flagstaff.
For a while, he was announcing for the Kimmel Show from his living room in Sedona.
Right now, I'm in ceremony. Currently. No, I'm just kidding.
One of my favorite, I DJ'd a party in Sedona.
Yeah.
It was in the middle of nowhere. They
Right.
brought generators and
It's out in the desert or something, or on the Red Rocks, like that.
out in the desert. Like it was bananas.
shit,
like
huh?
this is like 97 or something, but when I moved out there for school. But it was just crazy. I still
Was
have
there a
records.
drum circle?
No, it was all like hip hop stuff. Like, and I was DJing hip hop.
Not anymore. Just drum circles.
Just drum circles.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably a good place to take a
when
ayahuasca or something.
Johnny makes a good point. When I first moved to Sedona, Camp Verde, outside of Camp Verde,
I know Camp Verde.
Yeah.
I almost died in Camp Verde.
Badass little town. Wow. Now tell me that. That sounds more interesting.
Just in a car accident. I was a passenger in a car accident. You know those roads and the speed limit's 75, so everyone's going 85, and a truck pulling like
wasn't a long bed, was it?
No. It was a truck pulling an Airstream, an old vintage Airstream.
Ah.
And then after the Airstream, they had another trailer with quads on it. Yeah. And he was going off the side of the road and he veered really quick. And then like the trailer with the quads just kind of spun out and hit the car that I was in. And we went spinning. We almost went, those cliffs. Like,
of course.
We almost went off a 200-foot cliff. Yeah. I was like, this is, like, I had the proverbial life flashes before you. I was like, hey, this is it. You know what I mean? Like, I thought we were going over the cliff. And then another truck hit us and spun us and we hit the side of the mountain. But it was out there near.
Were you in urgent care?
Yeah, for the night, but it was like the next day I was out. It wasn't.
I'm wondering where they took you. Did they take you to Cottonwood?
I don't remember because they had me on morphine, so I don't remember anything. I think it was Cottonwood. I think it was.
Yeah.
And my roommates from Flagstaff had to come get me. And I just remember that.
That's gnarly.
That was bananas, dude. Yeah. But
on behalf of Camp Verde, I'm so sorry.
No, it's all right. It's cool. Yeah, I had a lot of friends from Camp Verde that went to school in Flagstaff, so that's why I know that area. I love that area, man. It's beautiful out there.
It's so cool.
We shouldn't be talking about it because you're going to get more people to move there. I'm sorry.
I don't.
I'll edit this out. Well, you already got your house, so it's cool. It'll only help your property value.
So I moved there and I found a house, and then my brother-in-law he's from Worcester originally, as is my wife, and he was a Sedona police officer at the time. So and he had kids, too. That my kids' cousins, and they loved each other, and they were, so it was a place where, with all the masking and everything that was going on in California at the time, and kids are virtually playing with each other, and play dates were off the table, and all of that. I was like, oh, this is a drag, and how many years are we going to take away from these kids? And I was doing that TV job remotely like this on a microphone in my garage in Altadena, and I said, fuck it, I'm going to go to somewhere else where the kids and their cousins, and the Sedona cop was there, and my wife's sister, and so we headed towards Arizona, to that area, and found this place. And then we had to kind of renovate it. So we're living in a horrible house and trying to renovate this other house during the pandemic and everything.
When there's no one
there. Yeah. I mean, even if there's no pandemic, like to get a Camp Verde crew together it's like
just to get the materials and everything.
Materials were brutal. Everything that came in, the guy was shaking his head going, the price of this stuff. I'm like, God, is there,
It's Ryan Packer.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ryan Packer is
wow, this is great.
Packer, how you been? Good to see you.
Say hello. Say hello to the Big Truth audience.
Oh, dude, he's been on like 30 of these.
All right, is he your number one Big Truth guest?
Oh, he's a co-host at this point.
What have we talked about, Packer? We've covered a little bit of choke. We did a little bit of slap shot. We
did a little impact unit. We did
some unit.
Him getting beat up by Jimmy Gestapo.
Oh yeah. We did the old New York City Boston rivalry. Gosh, how long have we been in this for? 5 days?
42 minutes. 42 minutes.
Answer me this. Now, here's where we are, and this is why we're in New Hampshire, me and Johnny right now, is we've put together a show, a small show with, do we have the list of people who are playing?
We do.
And so it's here in New Hampshire, and if you're listening to this, you're not going to make the show.
No,
it's already happened. Yes.
This is
yeah. So we got Brian McPherson, Sweet Babylon, Casey Darren is playing. Casey Darren played a huge part in putting together the show, and me and Johnny from the Defiant were here at the American Legion Hall. And Truth came down to interview me and Johnny for this, and the show is tonight.
And me and Packer here in a security capacity.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Very secure room.
We're very
This
secure
is a very secure room right
So
now.
far.
It's a very secure room.
So far, Packer, these inebriated people at the bar, do you think they're going to be any problem tonight?
We'll see.
Yeah.
The biggest problem is that a tall Tito's and soda is $6.
There's a toothless woman down the end that looks a little unruly.
We just paid $24 for this same drink at Danzig a couple days ago.
Danzig.
Yeah.
Where was he playing?
MGM across from Fenway.
How is that venue? I've never been.
It's a good room.
If I ever did the throwdown again, would I do it in that room? I just punched my code in. We don't share a passcode. I'll tell you what your passcode is in Packer. Let me give you the numbers that are not your code. Give me another hour. Maybe I could get it.
Crack it.
Yeah, crack it. But I'll tell you the 4 numbers that don't work. All right, so that's going on tonight, and this is in support of Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a candidate that me and Johnny are very excited about, and that's who we're backing. And, talk us out of it if you want to. We're willing to listen. If you got a better candidate, come forward. And I know people are going, everybody's better. What's wrong with these guys?
So
I hate politicians in general, but he seems to be the
He's not a politician.
Exactly.
All right? When he's a politician, if he wins, God, please, if he wins. When he wins, then he'll be a politician. But so far, he's never been a politician. He's been a lot of things, and he's done a lot of things, a lot of great things, including saving most of this country's major waterways and rivers. And he's dedicated his life to preserving and saving and saving people's lives and only caring, as far as I can see. And maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But as far as I can, and the words from his mouth sound great. And sure, maybe I've been snowed in the past, and I've lived a lifetime of, it's the lesser of two evils. It's the lesser. I'm sick and tired of the lesser of two evils. I'm tired of that. How about give me an option?
The lesser of two evils brought us to Trump and Biden.
That's it, but it's
Right?
always
It's like,
been that way.
I'm like, dude, but that's the crescendo of it, right? You know what I
Truth.
mean?
I'm older than you. Since I was born, it's the lesser of two evils. That's always what.
Yeah.
How about give me a choice where the word evil isn't involved?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So
So I've known him for a while. I've backed him for a while. I grew up Irish Catholic in Boston, so the Kennedys played a huge part. My father loved the Kennedys.
did you guys have a picture of JFK up in your house?
That's what we had. We had a picture
All right,
of
so-
JFK, and then next to JFK was the Pope, and then next to the Pope was Larry Bird.
Okay, so you grew up in a real Irish Catholic Boston, proper,
Really,
Boston,
kind of
Boston
pathetic.
You and
And everybody in the neighborhood, if
Had
your
the
name
same
wasn't
3
Bobby,
pictures,
your
yeah,
name
yeah.
was Jackie. It's Bobby and Jackie, the brothers. So that was the sort of neighborhood I grew up in. My father loved Ireland, and he went there once. I mean, that was the type of, to this day, he's got a scally cap on his head and a green sweater, and, Dicky, you're Irish Catholic. And I mean, when I tell him I know Bobby Kennedy, he looks like he's going to cry.
Yeah.
That's the kind of dude my dad is.
Yeah. Did you send him a picture?
Of course I do.
Yeah.
And if I meet anybody on the Red Sox, I send him a picture. This kid's unbelievable. He knows them all. I don't even know where he is. I used to send him, when we first started touring, I used to send him postcards from all over the world. He's like, okay, the kid's in Japan. Barretts have never been to Japan.
Yeah.
It would thrill him. It'd save the postcards.
That's awesome. Do you ever go back and look at all those postcards? I'm sure he still has them.
They're all over the fridge still. 500 years old.
All like yellowing with age and shit. But
remember the time you went to Melbourne, Australia, Dick? Yeah, we got the postcard right here.
I want to get into the Defiant and everything, but we got like 2 little things to talk about here beforehand, because there's a lot of space in between the Bosstones and the Defiant, right? Or a little bit of space.
I don't know.
Well, no, not space, but like, I don't know how many people know it, in the punk rock scene. I'm sure a lot of people know. But how did you get hooked up with that job on Jimmy Kimmel? Like, how did that come about?
A time came with the Bosstones, and it was known as the hiatus, where, after the success of, let's face it, then we did Pay Attention, another major label record, and
Jackknife to a Swan.
Then we did Jackknife to a Swan with Side One Dummy because the record label got huge, like just this big. Seagram's brought out Mercury Records and a shitload of record companies, and they all of a sudden formed Universal and Def Jam Universal, or Def Jam was involved too. So it's this big label, and we just we couldn't compete and couldn't be part of that and didn't want to be everything got sort of in front of us. And then we ended up making a record for Side One Dummy with Bill Armstrong, and Joe Sib had a record label. But at that point it was like we'd just been on the road so much for years and years. And that's what you did. You were out there, and it's like, now I was looking back and going, wow. And I was approaching 40 at the time. And can we do anything else? And is this it? Is this all I'll ever be? Which was great, and it was more than I ever expected to be. To be able to send postcards to my father from all over the world was way past what I had myself slated for roofing houses or tending bar, which I would have been fine with, but that's kind of was my path and my direction. And then all of a sudden, through the grace of God, I'm in the mighty, mighty Bosstones, and we're having success that we never really strived or tried to have, but kind of happened to us, which was absolutely wonderful, as I mentioned earlier. Trying to catch Packer up too while I'm telling. So it came time to let's take a break. We've done this, we did it, we won all the awards, bells, whistles, everything you can do, and let's take a break and then figure out and do it again when we want to do it. And as that was going down, Jimmy, who I knew from radio, from doing morning radio, going into every market, and most of the time it was Johnny waking me up in the morning going, "You got a radio interview, Dick, come on, get up." And me and Johnny would head over to the local radio station, and I'd go on the air, and I actually loved doing it, and met really cool people, and and I took it seriously, and I tried to give them as good a radio interview as I could and try to be funny, because you're in Cincinnati, and you're the biggest thing in Cincinnati, because it's not like LA radio or New York City where, but you're the biggest thing in town. And tonight the Bosstones are going to be playing, and here we got Dicky from the Bosstones, and he's here. And I made lots of friends. Sure. To this day, I still have friends in different markets who are still like journeyman radio guys. And that's really what Jimmy was. And he was in different markets. So, I met him up in Portland or Seattle at first, and then he ended up down in Florida, and then he was out in the desert, and then he ended up on K-Rock in LA, and he was Jimmy the sports guy, and he was really running the Kevin and Bean morning show, and Adam Carolla was involved in it too. And so, and I went on there, and it's LA, and I was trying to give him the best radio they could be, and Fumpy trying to be funny, and most bands that would go through, the guy would be like, "I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. It's tonight. I don't give a shit." But I was trying to be like more than that and funnier, and tried really hard, and learned to love the people I was talking to. And Jimmy was one of them. And then he was coming off the Man Show, and everything he did, it was kind of like he presented the Man Show to me one time. He's like, I'm going to have a TV show, and it's going to be like girls on trampolines and monkeys farting, dude stuff. And we're going to be drinking beer, and it'd be me and Adam. And like, that's never going to fucking work. Out of mind. I'd be like, yeah, it'd be me and Adam. And the thing was like 6 seasons of the Man Show with Adam. And it was.
That launched 4 of the funniest comedians, because like after them, it was Rogan and Stanhope.
Well, Rogan and Stanhope didn't handle, and as much as I love Joe Rogan and even Doug Stanhope now.
Stanhope is one of my favorite comedians.
Very funny, but they didn't handle the Man Show right.
He's in Arizona too, another Massachusetts.
He is. He's out in
that weird, the little
Bisbee.
town. Bisbee, yeah.
Bisbee. I hope we didn't blow it up for you this.
No, he knows. He talks about it. I met him out there once, just randomly at a bar, and it was a good time.
Terrific guy, funny guy, and you can't argue with Joe Rogan's success either. That guy's huge now, and I admire so much of what he does and listen to his podcast. But they took Jimmy and Adam understood that the joke was always on them. The joke was always on men, and it wasn't like just guys flexing and like, we're guys, blah, blah, blah. It was we're guys and we're stupid. These are the dumb things of guys, and you got to love us, but this is the imbecilic things we think are funny. So that's why it lasts. When Doug and Comedy Central gave the show to those guys, and first of all, they weren't friends like Adam and Jimmy were, and second of all, they didn't it kind of became what it wasn't, what people who never saw it thought it was.
Yeah.
And they just kind of did that, and it didn't last long, and their hearts weren't in it, and it kind of folded. But so he's coming off of that, and he says, once again, he said, I'm gonna start a late night television show. I'm gonna be hosting a late night television show. Do you want to be involved in that? And I was like, and this is back when those things were dying on the vine every day. This was Magic Johnson had a show, and Chevy Chase had a show.
Okay, yeah.
Joan Rivers, and one of the Wayans brothers. They were trying out who's the next, Johnny Carson, and I think one network had Jay Leno, and the other network had Jay Leno? Letterman. Was he still in? Yeah, he was still on, I think, when we got on. So we were the third network, and we were going on even later. And he said, well, do you want to be the announcer on the show? And I'm like, well, I can barely talk. Have you heard? No, it's going to be great. And you just come, yell, and it'd be rad, and it would be great, and my buddy will be there, and you're there. And I go, okay, this will last a month, and I'll be home, but the Bosstones will crack up when they see me pretending I'm Ed McMahon.
Yeah.
And I lasted 20 years.
It's crazy.
And it was great. And I loved, every minute of it, right up to the last few minutes. But the most of the time there, it was fun. It was great. It was enjoyable. It was...
They had like a bar backstage there at the Kimmel show, but not just a bar, but it was like full serve. They had spread, food, everything. So it was like guests and friends of Jimmy and stuff like that you could hang out.
It was
and
a
watch
green room
show
experience.
back there.
It had been to most of the green rooms, but it was a green room experience. That was sort of what he was trying to set up. I think the first few shows, which I wasn't involved in, he was serving alcohol we were serving alcohol to the audience. And that didn't
go well.
That one, I said, this will never work. And that one, I was right.
Yeah.
People were shit-faced in the audience. And
Fun. Like all the other late night, you do Letterman, it's stuffy and miserable, and
it's in New York, so there's limited space.
Yeah.
Let's be fair to it.
Yeah.
And doing Letterman was a thrill.
Yeah.
It was great to be there. But it's limited space. Like, your New York City apartment isn't your California apartment. You're living in a shoebox. Jimmy's listening to this podcast right now somewhere in Queens, in a one bedroom, and it's costing him a fortune.
Not Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Gestapo.
Jimmy.
Let's get the Jimmys right. Yeah.
So he's listening, and so it's.
I'm going to tell him too. I'm be like, the first 10 minutes of the podcast, we're just talking about you, Jimmy.
Tell him we peppered you in the rest of it too. Make him force him to listen to this nonsense.
I will.
Jesus, Dicky, I had to listen to the whole show. There I was. That's how I ended up on that show. He asked me, I said yes, and then a few years into it, I ended up doing that radio show, but I also ended up, the Boston's like, well, let's, now that the pressure's off, and now that, let's go out on our own terms, and not because we have to, and because we got to work this record, because let's just go out and enjoy it.
Have fun again, yeah.
We built it that way, and built the, throwdown back up again, and built the,
Jimmy's schedule allowed for him to be able to book tours when the show was off, kind of thing.
Okay.
It's pretty good. It all kind of worked, and it was great.
Yeah. What about? I didn't know too much about your radio show though. What was that?
I had a morning radio show on a station called Indie 103, and Indie was built to kind of compete with K-Rock.
Steve Jones had a show, right?
Well, that's where that was. And there was like Camp Freddy had a show, those guys, and Joe Civ had a show too at night. Like they were having people in punk bands and people in bands.
Joe Escalante.
Joe took over my show
that's right,
after me. Yeah. When I said I can't do it anymore. And I wish I did stay, but so it started out, you're going to have a morning show. I called it the Mighty Morning Show, and you can do whatever you want. You can play whatever you want, have all the guests you want. I was bringing in people from, Jimmy's show, asking them the night before, you come on my radio show. It's not on the Miracle Mile.
Super Dave.
Super Dave was my favorite guest. But and I could do 4 podcasts on Super Dave.
Super Dave Osborne?
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Bob Einstein.
Dicky loves, and
Funkhauser.
Yeah.
From the Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Who was this guy in Fuji? Was that his sidekick?
Fuji was his sidekick, yeah. He would explain the trick. And then
Sidekicks.
the way he looked at Fuji, too, like his face was so like dead serious.
Sidekicks are not utilized enough
No, dude.
nowadays. We all need sidekicks.
So important, man.
We got to find some sidekicks.
Johnny's mine.
Johnny's mustache is mine. Yeah. His mustache. Just
Sometimes Johnny's everybody's sidekick. He's Packer's sidekick, too.
You know what the thing is, though? We're all each other's sidekick. Kind of. It works out. We're symbiotic sidekicks.
Pardon me, Johnny is only one person's sidekick, respectfully.
No, McColgan's here.
Excuse me, fellows. I respectfully would like to tell you that Johnny has been my sidekick for many.
You're pulling claims.
Yeah, McColgan.
Yeah, he's doing his McColgan impression.
I know. I realize it. So
Yeah, so that's what we did. So that's what he did. And that turned into the pandemic. And the pandemic came along, and I had very, very specific ideas of what I was going to do and what I was willing to do and what I wanted to do. And they didn't include getting the COVID shot.
yeah.
And I was going to protect my family from it with every fiber that exists within me. And myself, quietly, personally, could I have done it? Sure. But the reason I didn't was because I knew that there were people that, followed what I did and believed in what I did and believed in what I said. And I couldn't do something and tell them, yeah, I did this, but it's not, I didn't want to. I couldn't say that. I couldn't.
There was a lot of that going around.
But I spent my life,
Or you need this to come see me play.
I didn't want to be that guy either. I didn't want to be part of the, bait, as you say. If you want to see the Bosstones, and you got to decide. I said no, and then I knew that people would be like, well, Dicky got it, so I guess it's cool. I didn't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
I didn't want to have anything to do with this. I couldn't. So all of a sudden they found out, I wasn't going to get this vaccine, and it was caused a lot of difficulty. And I was still doing the show remotely in a garage while that house is being renovated in Camp Verde, and I'm still from Hollywood every night, but the walls were closing in on me any day now, and Jimmy now knew that I wasn't going to get it in no uncertain terms, and he wasn't at all happy with that, but he was doing the best he could to protect me, and
sure.
But Disney was moving in, and it was, it was scary and sad, and like I can't believe what the world's becoming, but I still wouldn't do it. I still said no. And then a mandate came down, all Disney employees must have this, and then I said, well, I won't, and I won't let people think I do. I'm not going to pretend in any way. And so I was ousted. And around that time, too, is when Bobby Kennedy got in touch with me. I heard about your hard times. I heard what happened. And he said, would you like to record a song? I've got a freedom rally coming up in D.C., a mandates thing, and I want to do a parody song of Graham Nash song called Chicago from years ago, and I've rewritten the words, and do you think you could produce it and create this song? And I did. I found a guy that sings like a bird in Sedona, and put together this track, and it came out really well. And it's, and Higgins made a video for it which was beautiful, and it stood for, no mandates and medical freedom and the right to choose, and all of the things that I believed in, and and the stuff that I felt was moving towards us and going to steamroll over us, and praying that it wouldn't. And while at the same time, going, there's no way you're touching my children. And so it came out good. But when the rally took place, he compared what was going on to Nazi Germany, as people do.
Yeah.
People have been comparing things that our government does, or any organization does to Nazi Germany since Nazi Germany. But that's when the press and the media pounced on him and said, and that's when, the Bosstones were super uncomfortable. Members of the Boston, certain members to certain different degrees, were like, what's Dicky involved in? And not really knowing and not really, but saying, I didn't sign on for this. This isn't, what I'm, this is the band and this is the thing. And I was like, I didn't want to bring any of this to you guys, but this is what I believe in, and these are the things I believe in. And so that caused the second split. That caused us to say, okay, time for hiatus number 2.
Sure.
And that's what we're currently in. And then at the time,
when Rolling Stone magazine, calls you an anti-Semite, it's kind of scares off the,
Yeah. Well, they didn't really understand it, and Rolling Stone, is now notoriously stupid, and I have no real love for that magazine.
Well, Rolling Stones, it's like notorious that the dude was working in collusion with certain 3-letter agencies. And,
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
You talking about Noah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's public knowledge now. You know what I mean? So it's like
Noah's
they're basically a tool for the
No,
establishment.
that dude's a ska dude,
Is he?
Yeah, he played for the Stubborn All-Stars. He was a bass player.
Oh.
Yeah.
So he should be loving you.
He's not.
I know.
I thought so. I thought I'd get some ska
That
love.
ska brotherhood going.
He really loved him. He really loved them in high school. Though.
Yeah. Back when he was Stubborn
Doesn't
All-Stars
jive with his
playing
new
with
job.
us.
Yeah.
He was, but no, I think I'm the enemy. But so that's what took place, and that causing people were like, it is what it is, and at the time too. Now, so all of this, my world is blown up, and in the meantime, it's public. So now, it's in the modern world, strangers have to attack you on social media.
But the problem is, it's public, but it's reduced to sound bites, so people don't get the whole story. They get the little clips that they want to latch
No
on
one wants
to.
to listen. They're right now. They're making clips of this,
Yeah.
and I'm going to sound super stupid, but then that's fine. So that's the way the world works. But they're coming at me. So it's like, oh my God, I've just taken a huge hit. The things that I've done this for 20 years, and I've done the Bosstones for 40 years. And now, what am I going to do? And I did what I always do, is just started creating and started writing and started thinking and putting pen to paper, and and called friends and people that were thought like I did, and who I loved and who loved me, and found people that said, well, this guy. The Offspring just threw this guy out of the band. I wonder if he'll drum for a band that I put together. And then called, Pete Parada. And he was like, I'm all in. Let's do it. And it was, and called Greg Camp, who was a guitar player for Smash Mouth. And of course, I called Johnny last because I just knew he'd do it anyway.
What's your sidekick?
I'm a little bit busy right now, Dicky, but okay. I'll do what you say, like I always do.
Yeah. Sidekick obligation.
Yeah, sidekick. As my sidekick, Johnny was obligated.
Yeah.
What are you doing now?
Joey Briggs was from Joey LaRocca from the Briggs. He we started writing songs with him too, and if the song sucked, then we would have, it would have been short-lived, and we wouldn't have gone too far and be, it was nice and fun, and we gave it a shot. But, to the song, like one after another, it's like, God, this is really good. God, this is great. Do you love it? Am I wrong? Am I crazy? Is this great? And then it's, 5 guys all that I respect and musically and creatively are, agreeing, like, I think that this is special. And before we knew it, we had an album full of songs, and then some that we can shelf, and Greg's ability to record stuff was top shelf, and then we sent it to a guy named TJ who mixed it. He works in Hellcat Records, and he mixed it. He was involved in mixing and making. He was the engineer on the last Bosstones record, and he'd stepped it up a level too, and it just came out great. And I got Johnny to testify. Am I right?
Absolutely, 100%.
If I'm talking bullshit to your friend Truth, Johnny, you speak up.
I would call you out on it.
All right, and have Packer throw me out. Packer, don't go easy on him.
I would do anything for Ryan Packer.
I want a full Nelson when you throw me out of here, Packer. All right, treat me like just any other asshole.
Packer's been with me for many years.
That's where you're his sidekick. Knock off the bullshit. You're his boy. He's not your boy.
He's like, I don't shine shoes no more.
Will there be plaid pants involved in the Defiant?
No, I feel like that'd be silly. Only on Johnny. He's got to wear an old pair of mine.
We're opting for.
That was a good question, though, Packer.
We're opting for Argyle.
Yeah.
Mustaches and plaid.
So
did I ever tell you what Stigma said about the mustache, by the way? I'm just going to throw a quick Stigma story.
All right, go
real
ahead.
quick.
Yeah, there's always time for a Stigma story.
He goes, oh, you got a mustache, huh? Yeah, looks pretty good. And I go, I don't know, Vinny. I'm on the fence about it. He goes, yeah, I don't like it either.
That's pretty much as Stigma as it gets. I mean, as long as you're selling sausages on the streets of Chicago, dude, that mustache is perfect. It's fucking perfect. Yeah. So the Defiant. When's the album rolling out?
October 27th.
All right.
Yeah. And we got the second single is coming out.
Yeah,
the next couple weeks or so.
Gosh, we got to do this show tonight, Johnny.
Yeah, we do, huh?
We put together an ragtag acoustic thing that's going on in here.
It's okay. It's an American Legion Hall.
Yeah, it's low key. I think. Maybe we'll go out there and surprise me. Maybe there's people out there, but.
So can I get a sneak preview? Not right now, obviously, of the second single. I heard the first.
Yeah,
one.
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Give them a sneak preview of the whole damn album. What do we care for?
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, cool. We'll talk about that after.
All right.
I give people sneak previews, though, truth, and then it doesn't feel like they listen to it.
I listen to shit.
Can I get an advance copy? Yeah, sure. A week later, hey, how'd you like that record? Oh, yeah. I couldn't download it. I couldn't. It's like,
trouble.
You didn't call me back?
Well, fuck yeah, man. So what's kind of like and I had one of my Patreon subscribers, I said that you guys might come on today, wanted to know what were the influences musically behind the band.
I think everything we brought to it. I think there's influences. I don't think there's any,
It's a piece of everybody's past, I would say, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
You wouldn't like.
It's all heavy hitters that have long past in musically, so.
Yeah. I think if you know those bands, which people do, if you know Johnny's band, what he's been doing, it's like who his influences are. It wasn't like, all right, well, now we're a new band. Let's come up with some new influences.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of Impact Unit, a little bit True Intentions.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Are you hoping? I'm sure there's not enough hardcore on it for you, Truth.
I don't listen to just hardcore. We're all
I know, but you're an aficionado of it.
The man romances a lady. He doesn't romance the ladies with an old Judd record,
Yeah, Boston came around one night. Push came to shove. What I always noticed about that lyric, and I called Mike Judge on this when I talked to him. It was like Boston came around one night, push came to shove, we were down to fight. Never said who won.
Yeah.
Just said we were down to fight. New York was down to fight.
Yeah.
So basically it was Jimmy versus you. That was the fight.
It was.
Did it turn more into a melee? Or was it just
no,
you
it was
guys?
clear. It was clear. I got the brunt of it, but it was clear. If you dared to, I think those lyrics are pretty damn good. I think that's right. He came around one night and they but it wasn't. The message was sent.
Yeah,
for sure. To rap, to end up the way where we started. I think. So that was.
Speaking of messages being sent, I think people can see from the foreshadowing that we've talked about that's been threaded throughout this interview. Like, let's talk a little bit about the messages of the Defiant, because that's what the most important thing is with the band, I think, at this point.
Thank you for asking. The message is unity. It's what I've always preached and what I've always talked about. It's bringing people together. We're not different. We're not, you can think this, I can think this. You can choose this, I can choose that. But the strength and the beauty and society's 1,000 times better if we say, okay, now let's put that aside and let's be human beings and let's embrace, let's enjoy life, let's enjoy the things that we all share in common. And
it's funny because the you know, the naysayers would say, you guys have changed. When the irony of that is that every fucking body else has changed. I'm the same guy. I know Dicky's the same guy.
Yeah.
You know, he still had, you know.
I don't know if everybody else has changed. I think something's been instituted and something's been put upon us, and there's people that benefit and make money from us being divided. And I think that's the message of it is we shouldn't be, and we should find out. You know, let's trace the thread and go, okay, who is prospering, who is benefiting, and why are we letting them keep us apart like that? And it's like. Yeah. You know, everything has to be divisive, and everything has to be, you know, this is your team, and you have to hate that team.
You got to hate the other team.
You got to hate.
You can't talk to them. You can't. You have to pretend that they're evil people.
Yeah, and let's be honest. You know, it's like as funny as it is to go New York, Boston, Yankees, Red Sox, everything. It's like. It really wasn't about that. It wasn't about. We loved the same things, me and Jimmy. We wanted to do the same things. We wanted to entertain the same people. We wanted to bring people together. And that's what we wanted to do. And it wasn't like, it was, and that's exactly what it is. It's like I don't have to share every single, thought and idea and value and everything, but. The core ones, the ones that are important, the things that I've always talked about, family, friends, love, unity, those we can all share.
Yeah.
Those we can all agree upon. If you don't like your family, if you don't like your friends, then fuck off.
Yeah. Get new ones.
If you don't,
get new ones.
Don't believe that.
You get the wrong ones, yeah. Nah, but you know.
I am on my fourth wife now almost, so.
Yeah.
Fourth wife, like 11 kids.
Yeah.
Like fucking whatever. No.
It'll work out one of these times.
Yeah. No, but you know, and I know like, but where along the lines did that messaging fucking leave punk rock? Because that's what pisses me off. Like, and I talk about it freely, and I know you might not want to, you know what I mean? But like, here's the thing, like, I don't know. I'm getting like not stumped here, but I'm getting I got 4,000 things trying to come out at once. But like I take it very personally that like punk rock got co-opted. During the last like 5 years.
Well, there's an assumption that if you disagree with somebody on even substantial things, that must mean because
now you're
of this political origin or whatever. If you disagree with me on certain key elements, then that must mean. You're with this other crazy fucking thing.
That's what's crazy right now. It's like the world is more nuanced than everyone wants to put it right now. So if I don't agree with someone on one thing, now I'm a right-wing fucking nut job.
Everything's black and white. There's no shades of gray.
No, dude. Like, look at my shirt here.
One
like,
team or the other.
Yeah, I'm not on either team, dude. I'm like fucking, I'm not on either team. That's the problem.
Right.
Like, but I don't think
I thought I was on the team of those people. I thought we were all on the same team, regardless of who and what, and you know what I mean?
But I think that came back to what you were talking about earlier when we were kids and younger, and there wasn't as much there wasn't as many people involved in the scene or whatever. Like, I knew kids that had all kinds of different backgrounds with all different beliefs. Right. And we got along because, like, the music shit was more of the unifier, and it was us versus them, meaning society. And now it's, like, literally, like, society's overtaken this, and it's like a little microcosm of.
It's like in the 1980s, we talked. All the songs were bashing on Ronald Reagan, right? But it wasn't. We weren't bashing on Ronald Reagan because there was another guy who we thought was way better than Ronald Reagan.
No, because you're going to bash on the next guy
right,
too.
Exactly.
It was just he was in at that point.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It wasn't that. It was like, we're fucking bashing on Reagan because there's this other dude that we sing better, about. That's awesome. That's going to save us all. It's like
he was president at that time. Yeah.
Right. Granted, we're all old men now, but
salty old men.
Boomers yelling at the sky.
Yeah.
I'm Gen X.
Okay, all right.
So, sorry.
So am I.
I'm a millennial.
Gen X guys yelling at the sky.
Yeah.
The thing about it is everything's been co-opted.
Is that the name of the next record, by the way?
That's a good song, right? Everything's co-opted. I think
no, Gen X guys yelling at the sky.
Either one. Everything's co-opted is on my new album.
Yeah.
Gen Xers yelling at the sky. That's the plan is to divide us, is to say, everything. You can go, it's punk rock, but it's everything.
Yeah,
been,
I just take it more personally when it gets into the world of punk rock and choppers.
Yes,
I take it more personally.
That's your world.
These shouldn't have been. These were always question authority, fucking whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
Sure.
Speak truth to power, blah blah blah. Which is just all catchphrases now. You know.
But how do you think Aaron Rodgers feel about sports? It's like, when did this come into sports? When did it? Everything has to be.
That's a good point.
It's all co-opted.
Yep.
And nothing, they got to touch it all, because if they don't touch it all, then it doesn't work, and there's, people that are leaning against it, and, their problems. And we got to figure out, what do we do with Aaron Rodgers, and what do we do with Dicky Barrett? And so that's part of it. But I'm not just an old, Gen Xer or a boomer, or whatever the fuck you want to call me, yelling at the sky. I've been yelling at the sky since I was a kid. I was yelling at the sky when I heard Choke and I heard Al say, come into Boston and let's all yell at the sky together. I mean, those songs had very clear messages and clear, the things that the dead Kennedys said at that time, I held to my heart. Nazi punks, fuck off.
Yep.
And still to this day, I bought in hook, line, and sinker. And if anybody's acting like a Nazi, if there's any fucking Nazi attitudes, that was our thing. When we were on stage, it didn't exist. We gave it no oxygen. We shut it down. We cut its life source immediately. And I will do that to the very end. And when it was time, hey, let's go. Now's the time. If ever we needed that spirit and ever we needed to join forces and go, okay, they're really fucking with us now. They're really fucking with us now. The government is telling me I have to fucking inject this into myself. But Dicky is supposed to be putting people in danger. I don't believe that.
No.
I believe that this is dangerous. I believe that it's not smart. I believe at the very least it's not one size fits all.
Yeah.
You can have that cranberry and vodka or whatever you drink in there, and that agrees with you, and that's fine. I could give it to another guy, he could fall on the floor. He's highly allergic to cranberries. We're all different human beings. So to say that here it is, here's your dose, this is the medicine, this is what everybody's going to get, is fucking lunacy.
Yeah.
And for people like the guy that drums in the Defiant, Pete, it's not going to work. It can very much affect him. He took a shot one time and his arms wouldn't fucking work. Eric Clapton was playing guitar and thought he was never going to play the guitar again because he got the COVID shot. And then all of a sudden he has to be vilified by the same ska dude, Noah, and Rolling Stone, because he's saying, I don't advise people to get this because right now I don't think I can pick my guitar up. I got it. Pete got a shot at one time. So the one-size-fits-all thing smelled bad to me. I'm not going to play that game. I know that this kid here is sensitive to good.
That's a tenant in medicine.
Well, that's how medicine works. It's called practicing medicine. You go into, and your doctor says, all right, I'm going to assess you. I'm going to evaluate you. You're my patient. I'm going to tell you. And then the government comes and says, no. Everybody takes this.
In the case of our drummer, he had a medical condition that the shot, one of the listed side effects could have potentially killed him, as, listed by the thing. So his doctor advised him, don't do it.
Well, that's the thing. So when, I looked around and said, hey, no, at the very least, this can't be mandated. People should have the choice. It's freedom of choice, freedom to choose what goes into you. And that, I looked around, I was like, everybody's with me? Turns out, no.
No, nobody was with you.
No, dude.
10 dudes were with you,
Okay.
Yeah. We're with you, Dick.
Thank you, Johnny.
Your sidekick is
I think Johnny was days away from getting
I don't know
one.
what the fuck he's saying, but I got his back.
Sidekick is obligated.
Yeah, he was. I knew that. I go, Johnny was days away. I actually called him, and he was just about to get my shot, boss. No, Johnny. Truth, I want to go and see what's playing here. I really enjoyed doing this podcast, and I would love to do it again.
I know. We'll do it again. I know you
got another question.
No, I don't got
I can tell.
No.
I'm looking at your eyes.
I got a million questions.
Did I sadden you?
No. I'm very sad.
Did you enjoy talking?
I'm not going to be effective as a security agent tonight because I'm going to be a little melancholy. Because I didn't get all the
bummed you out?
Yeah, you bummed me out because we're only an hour and 20 minutes.
Impact questions. No, I wanted to ask you about Regular Boy's haircut. I never got to it.
Now we'll do it again. I know we're in the green room the smoking green room of the show, and it's about it's already kicked off. So we're gonna cut it here. Where can people find out more information about the Defiant and things you guys got going on?
Go to Defiant official Instagram, and there's a website.
Same with the Facebook page. Do we have a website? Oh yeah. I don't even know.
Defiant Music.
Yeah.
Just hit me up afterwards.
There is a website,
shoot me a thing, and it'll be in the show notes, folks, so you can follow it there.
Thank you so much, Drew.
All right,
it's been a blast talking.
All right, we'll do it again.
Say goodbye to your credit card rewards. Greedy corporate mega stores, led by Walmart and Target, are pushing for a law in Congress to take away your hard-earned cash back and travel points to line their pockets. The Durbin-Marshall credit card bill would enact harmful credit card routing mandates that would end credit card rewards as we know it. If you love your credit card rewards, tell your lawmakers, hands off my rewards. Tell them to oppose the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill.
Hey guys, time to get in on the action for the biggest moments in basketball with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections, place your entry, and win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the Prize Picks app and use the code GET100. That's code GET100 on Prize Picks for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy.